How's it going, everybody out there? My name is Jakejames Lugo, and welcome to the channel. Now, while it's cool to be the hero of every story and actually save the day on the side of good, it's even better once in a while to be the bad guy. I mean, how cool is it to actually be the bad guy every now and then, when you actually get to do some pretty bad things? I mean, who really wants to be a goody two-shoes all the time? I want to be the type of bad guy that just walks up to somebody and smacks them across the face for saying that they like JRPGs, when you know damn well that they don't actually like JRPGs. I want to be the type of bad guy that actually eats pineapple on pizza. Oh yeah, people, we're crossing that line right there. And because I'm a bad guy today, I mean, hell, I'm even wearing black right now, as you guys can see. All bad guys wear black, right? I actually need an actual bad guy voice. I mean, who doesn't have a bad guy voice, especially with the game that we're going to talk about today? I need to have a voice that's kind of like this because of the game that we're reviewing today. Because in this case, greed is good. This is Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3. Or 3, as you understand what I'm saying, right? Right? Wario Land is the third and final game in the Super Mario Land trilogy for the Game Boy. While it follows up right after the events of Super Mario Land 2's 6 Golden Coins, things get very twisted here. Instead of Mario being the main focus, we get to play as the big bad guy, Wario. While there are some similarities, Wario Land feels very different than the previous 2 Super Mario Land games. But what's the story? After Wario got kicked out of the castle he tried to, let's just say, borrow from Mario, Wario is hell-bent on getting a castle of his own. To do this, however, he needs money. Lots and lots of it too. So he travels to Kitchen Island in search of riches and gold to fulfill his greed. Yes, give me all the riches and the gold. At the top of his list is a big gold statue of Princess Peach that was stolen from the Mushroom Kingdom by the Brown Sugar Pirates, led by Captain Syrup. With this and all the hidden treasure that he could find across the island, Wario hopes to build a bigger and better castle than Mario ever could. It's the first Nintendo game that I could think of that really puts a villain at the center stage and lets you have fun with it. But is Wario's first adventure on the Game Boy really that special and, for all extensive purposes, good at being bad? Well, that depends on how you approach it. Are you bad enough for this game? Now in Wario Land, everything that you knew about Mario and the previous Super Mario Land games is completely turned on its head. While Mario is a goody two-shoes, he's the underdog of the Nintendo family of characters, Wario is the complete opposite side of that. He was designed specifically just to be the anti-Mario. While Mario is nice and he's a good guy in all essence of the character, Wario is a bully. He's very unappealing, he's fat, he's disgusting compared to Mario. Everything about him is just the complete flip side of what Mario is. It's actually kind of funny to see Nintendo do something like this for a spin-off title that just felt like it was another continuation of a series that focused on Mario back then. But it's also very interesting to note is that this is another game that takes place outside of the Mushroom Kingdom with its story. It's still a very shallow plot at best, but once again, this is another game with a story set in the Mario universe that doesn't focus on Mario himself. This introduces a whole bunch of new characters to us that also get their own spin-off series, and that's actually kind of cool. I also find it a little bit weird that we go to an entirely new location after there was so much put into the location for Super Mario Land 2's 6 Golden Coins. Granted, this is a brand new game and it's starring a brand new character, but I would have loved to see more stuff happen in that same location since it was actually kind of cool in that game. Either way, let's get into the more meaty stuff, which is all the good stuff that you want to know about being bad here with this game. Remember, kiddies, greed is good here. So let's talk about the gameplay, which is really, really greedy and really, really bad. I know the laugh is a little bit much, but bear with me here. Wario Land feels like a much heavier version of Super Mario Land 2, but with a lot of changes that distinguish itself. Wario controls almost exactly like Mario does, but is bigger and fatter with a bunch of different abilities. Instead of mushrooms, Wario could pick up garlic to power himself up, giving him a boost in strength so he can ram his enemies or crush them with his bottom. Whoever said you had to play nice when you're the bad guy? Besides this, Wario has access to a number of different powers using various hats that you could find scattered across all the different levels within Kitchen Island. You could find a fire-breathing hat, a rocket-powered hat, and bull horns. These all act like powers you find in a typical Mario game, but they're specifically tailored for Wario. But that's not all the greedy guy can do, however. Wario can stomp on his enemies and throw them as well. Again, who said you ever had to play nice like Mario here? You're a bad guy, so who really cares? Anything goes for both little baddies and bosses. However, is it easy and fun to control? Absolutely, especially if you've played the previous games. You'll definitely notice a lot of what has changed here and appreciate just how much you could do now as you explore each level. Technically speaking, everything about Wario Land is a complete step up over Super Mario Land 2's 6 Golden Coins. Not only are you able to do more stuff with Wario against your enemies by picking them up and just feeling like you're a little bit more powerful compared to what Mario was in that previous game, but you also have a lot more locations to visit and other things to do as opposed to just getting from point A to point B. The coolest thing here is that the entire game really commits to this whole anti-Mario aesthetic with all the different powers and the types of stuff you could really do with Wario as you control him. All the powers you could get from picking up the different hats that you could discover as you traverse each level is really cool, and I really like how some of them are really key to getting to secret areas in certain stages here and there, depending on which type of hat you actually are using. However, I do wish that some of the hats had a little bit more extra powers, or at least certain types of abilities that could be a little bit more useful. For example, the bull horns that you could get not only allows you to stick to ceilings and actually have a better kind of ramming power that Wario has, but you could also use his butt stomp, which is the same type of thing we saw from Super Mario Land 2. You don't really get that from the other two hats that you could pick up, including the fire breathing hat and also the rocket power hat, which are pretty cool by all extents, for what their uses are, but I wish that you could get some other abilities, or maybe even get the butt stomp included with that, some other stuff, maybe some other creative things, but even so, these powers are still pretty cool. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest, I do think that the boss fights are a little bit more challenging than what was actually seen in Super Mario Land 2. It feels like some of the bosses in this game, or at least the ones you could discover in the different areas, all feel like on the same type of level when you were fighting Wario towards the end of Super Mario Land 2, which is a great thing if you wanted more challenge, but overall, these games, and including this one, is still very streamlined and easy compared to what else is out there if we're talking about difficulty. The boss fights that you encounter here, I feel like you have to do a little bit more finesse compared to what you did back in Super Mario Land 1 and 2. I think that's actually really cool, especially if you wanted the extra challenge, but even so, I like their designs, I like the way that they actually play, I like that you get a whole stage right before them. The stuff like that I think is very good, and it works well with the context of this game. But now, friends, it's time for us to be even more greedy and bad here, because we have to talk about all those coins that we get to gather throughout the entirety of the game. All the money, all the Patreon money, yes, donate to the Patreon and stuff, because it's all greedy, because greed is good. My bad, okay? Being bad here does that type of stuff for you, okay? Bear with me, I said. So let's chat about money. And no, I don't mean pledging to my Patreon page, which you should totally do via the links down below, but that's besides the point. Anyway, let's talk about all the coins you gather all throughout Wario Land. The coins you find lying around, as well as the ones you get from defeating certain enemies, are important for the ending of the game. Wario's greed really knows no bounds here, so the more money he has, the better. Greed is good here, and the game shows that by the time you defeat Captain Syrup on the final stage. After the battle, Mario comes to take away the giant Peach statue back to the Mushroom Kingdom. Which is mean since we rescued it. Then again, Wario did the same thing with Mario's castle, so it's kind of evens out, but who's keeping track, right? Anyway, Wario then picks up the lamp that was dropped earlier and summons a genie. The genie agrees to give Wario one wish based on how much treasure he's gathered on his journey, which means if you've been avoiding all those coins, you're gonna regret it big time here. You don't want to get stuck with a very whack castle here, folks, but that's not the only thing that's at work here towards the end of the game. Wario could gather various hidden treasures that will help you out. These treasures are found in secret doors that must be accessed with a key that you could find hidden in each stage, which then opens up a treasure you could use at the end of the game. You want to gather them all so you can get the most coins possible. If you manage to do this, Wario's final wish will be a bigger and better castle, and if you're really lucky and let your greed take control to gather 99,999 coins, the genie will give Wario a planet with his face on it, which is awesome! Like I said earlier, greed is good here, so you want to gather as much as you can. Is it worth the effort by the time you finish the game, however? Definitely if you're a completionist type of gamer, but you won't find anything else extra here after doing so when you beat the game, which is a little bit of a bummer. More because my greed knows no bounds. My bad, okay, let me get back to basics here. I really enjoy the multiple endings. I think that they're very funny and fit well with the humor that the entire game has going for it as you play each level. I think it's actually kind of goofy and silly if you don't collect enough coins by the time you finish the final boss, and you get kind of like a whack castle, which I think is, again, it's just utterly funny, the types of stuff that they show, but it's also very cool to see some of the really crazy ones that you could gather if you end up getting those 99,999 coins. Stuff like that I think is very cool and adds a lot of replay value, especially when you could go back to certain stages if you didn't collect enough coins the first time around, or even gathered the treasure that's probably hidden throughout. Now, I do admit, I wish there was some more stuff there to kind of enjoy a little bit more of the game after I complete it the first time around, or get a certain ending. I wish there was a little bit more extra stuff there, but there's not really much once you finish the game, and once you get all the treasures and you get the most amount of coins you could get when you finish the final boss, well, once all that stuff is done, you're pretty much finished with it, and there's no reason to go back to the rest of the levels. Another thing I do want to touch on is the final boss in Wario Land, which I don't think is really as exciting as any of the other bosses earlier in the game, or even as exciting as the last boss fight that you get in Super Mario Land 2 against Wario. I felt like that boss fight was a little bit much more dynamic. It was multifaceted. There was a lot more hype and craziness going into that. But with this one against Captain Syrup and the Genie, it just feels kind of blasé, you know, compared to everything else that's going on in the game. If you know what you're doing, you could pretty much finish that final boss fight very easily, especially if you hit that lamp that's on the ground and jump onto the little clouds that pop up. You could get some good hits on the Genie depending on how good you are. Maybe about 3 or 4 hits per jump, you know, depending. But even so, still not as exciting as any of the other earlier boss fights in my own personal opinion. So with that being said, can I really recommend that all of you guys play Wario Land Super Mario Land 3 if you haven't already done so? Does it really still hold up even after all these years? I think it's a fun game. If you've been playing all the Super Mario Land games or you've been following my reviews and stuff, I feel like it's still pretty good. It's still something that's a classic on the Game Boy. It has a lot to offer as far as this style of game. It is still pretty fun even after all these years. I love the controls. I love the character. I love all the little neat little things you can find here and there throughout each of the stages. It's just something that feels like a Mario game, but it's a little bit different. It's kind of twisted on its head for all the right reasons. If you were looking for a brand new Mario game to play, but you wanted something a little bit different than what you got before, I definitely recommend that you pick up Wario Land, because this is as different as you're probably going to get without going to any of the other crazy spin-off games that are in the Mario series. This one is actually very enjoyable. And there you go. Those are my thoughts on Wario Land Super Mario Land 3. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video review. I know that it feels very good to be bad here, but just overall my thoughts on the game, I hope you guys got a kick out of it. If you liked what I said about the game, or if you have your own opinions about Wario Land, put it in the comment section down below. Tell me, did you play Wario Land on the Game Boy when it first came out? Did you like any of the other games that came off from the Super Mario Land series, all those spin-off titles that we got now these days? Put it all in the comment section down below. And of course, don't forget to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos just like this one. I have a ton of reviews, a ton of podcasts, a ton of vlogs, a whole bunch of great content I know you're gonna love. And also, please check out my Patreon page via the links in the description box below. I put up a whole bunch of exclusive content over on my Patreon for everybody that supports my content over there. For the $1 level or higher, you're gonna get a ton of exclusives, including early access to videos, brand new exclusive podcast shows, exclusive vlogs, and a whole bunch of other great stuff. Definitely check it out when you can. Links in the description box down below. Anyway, I will talk to all of you guys again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody. Yeah. Okay, I'll stop with the laugh, okay? Fine. Thanks for watching this video, everyone. Make sure you guys check out some of these other videos in the boxes after the credits, and don't forget to visit my Patreon page via the annotations for more exclusive content. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.